Hey everyone, my name is Jessie Jennings and welcome back to another episode of Art Journaling with Plaid. Today we're going to be doing a classic paper collage page using some found pieces, magazine clippings, all kinds of different pieces of paper that I've found using Mod Podge paper and then some of our Mod Podge glitters. So let's get started. So to begin our collage, you'll need paper, of course. So I have a fresh page here that I've opened up to. And then what I have here is just this little file that's filled with different papers that I've collected. Some of them I found at thrift stores, some of them I've bought on creative websites, and some of them I've just found in magazines myself. So this little, file is a great way to kind of hang on to this stuff so you can make lots of collage pages in your art journal. You could theme them, you can make them based on a color, based on a feeling, based on an experience you've had or a vacation. You can do family photos. There's just lots of different ways you can use paper for collaging in your art journal. So I'm going to go through some of the things I have here in my collection. The biggest probably page that I have, or the biggest collection I have, is book pages. So I have lots of pages from books, from things about crystals and history books, children's books. This is one of my favorites here. It's from a cookbook from the 70s. So it's really colorful, and I might even use that today actually. I've got comics that I've collected, dictionary pages. So, this is absolutely endless. It's a really good excuse to go to thrift stores, to go to secondhand stores and kind of walk around and see what you can find. Because when you buy one book or one magazine, you get so much great content out of it for using in your art journal. So aside from book pages, I have another little file here that has lots of documents. So this is things that people really used. And obviously I've bought these secondhand and on creative sites. None of these I have for myself, which kind of makes it mysterious and fun and really interesting to learn about. So I've got some postcards, some letters here. I even have an old check that I thought was kind of cool because it's from 1934. So just something really cool to use in your collaging. Next in my little folder here, I've got some magazine clippings. So magazines are a great place to get some of your paper items just because they're so colorful and they're so curated. So lots of really cool, ads and textures and things like that, patterns. So I've just, cut out some fun little pieces here, just a really bright yellow pattern or a bright yellow shape, just some cool images and things like that. I've got some textures that I found that are awesome for collaging. So magazines are a really good way to collect some of these things for your art journal. And then I've got small pieces here. So my small pieces are just kind of extra stuff that didn't necessarily have its own category. So an old photo that I found in a book that I bought, just all kinds of different stuff. Just little, small book pages and things that I've gotten from thrift stores and secondhand stores. I even have some of my mom's old dress patterns. My mom likes to sew, so just things that you can kind of use later on and get inspired by. And the next time you have an idea for a theme, you'll have lots to work with. And then the last little piece in my file is just miscellaneous. So I've got a scrap of wallpaper here. I've got all kinds of different stuff. I've got some dried flowers that I purchased. Of course, you can make your own dried flowers too from, weddings and memories and things like that. But just some small pieces in here, just some miscellaneous items that you can use in your art journal. So I've pulled out some of the pages that I want to use from my file here. So I've got some book pages that are sort of more, monotone, have less color, more black and white. And then I have some more book pages that actually have some color. So I'll kind of, as I'm collaging and as I'm making a design, I'll pull what I think I can use based on the things I have. And then I have some magazine cuttings that are just super colorful, very graphic and a little bit cartoony almost, that I think I want to use on this page as well. So I'm going to start by putting down some of the book pages at the back to kind of get started with my collage, just to give some pattern to the background, and then we can start layering it up with color. So to glue down our book pages to our art journal, I'm going to be using paper Mod Podge. And the reason I've selected this formula of Mod Podge is because it works really well with paper to paper, and also it's acid free. So if you're planning on using your art journal for a long time and keeping it for many years to come, this is a really great option for collaging with papers. To Mod Podge down our papers, what you'll need, of course, is your book pages. So like I said, I've pulled a few here. I've got some dictionary pages, looks like some 5th grade spelling words, and even a little ad from a newspaper that's selling belts for 98 cents. which I thought was kind of fun and vintage looking. So I'm going to use a variety of these as my sort of background for the collage. And to put those down, like I said, we'll be using our Mod Podge paper. But I also have here some scissors, of course. I have some small ones for cutting out tiny things, and then my bigger scissors for cutting out, the bigger pages. And I also have my little brayer with a squeegee. So this is an awesome tool when you're Mod Podging with paper because you can press any bubbles out, but you can also roll them out. So this is just a really handy 2-in-1 tool that I like to keep on hand. I've got my Mod Podge brushes here that of course I'll use to apply the Mod Podge to my papers. And then I've also got some sheets of wax paper here. And wax paper always comes in handy when you're Mod Podging because you can lay your papers onto the wax paper to brush it out, and it dries really quickly and it won't get stuck on your table and you won't make a mess. So I just have a couple sheets of wax paper here to kind of help us as we go. So to get started, I'm going to push my journal up a little and we can kind of, lay out our pages and see where we want them to be. So I'm just going to kind of move them around a little and see what I like. You could do it where you just kind of, put them all together and kind of go straight across. You could do them side by side, or you can kind of, layer them almost like in a quilt pattern and do just a variety of different ways to put these book pages onto your journal. So I'm going to start tearing some of these papers because I like the idea of like a really soft edge as opposed to all of them being really hard if you were to cut them with scissors, just because it's going to feel very geometric and I want our page to feel a little bit softer. So I'm going to start with this one. And I'm just going to press my hand down on it and pull up. And you can kind of move your hand left and right if you want it to be a little bit more organic looking as opposed to just a straight line. So I'm kind of going left and right to get. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to Mod Podge this one down. So I'm going to grab my wax paper and I'm going to use this to apply my Mod Podge. I'm just applying a really thin and even coat of Mod Podge. You want to make sure you have Mod Podge in the entire surface of your paper, but it doesn't take very much. It just takes a nice, thin, even coat. You can see now I can brush right off the edges of my paper without worrying about making a mess because I have that wax paper down. I'm going to start this one over here on the edge of my journal. I'm going to pull it in a little bit. I'm going to press down. And then I can trim the edges later once it dries. I can use this to smooth out any bubbles. So now I have all my book pages down. As you can see, they're really going off the edge, but I'm going to let my pages dry and then we'll go back with scissors and we'll trim the edges so they're clean back to our original art journal edge. So now our background's complete. We have this nice black and white pattern going on. So I'm going to set this aside and we're going to look through some of the pieces that we picked to start collaging onto our journal. I'm really focusing on color for this. I really want it to be a balanced composition, but all the pieces I picked because they're really colorful. So I love this one here. I found this in a book. It says warm and earthy rainbow. So it's just a color palette. I think it's really fun. And I'm definitely going to cut out some of these little swatches for our page here today. And I've also got a couple of these maps. So I love the color on these. I've got some book pages that have like really nice, monochromatic sort of things going on. Amelia Bedelia, one of my favorite books when I was little. And another map here too. So I'll probably use all of these. So I'm going to start cutting and piecing some of these pieces together. Okay, so I've cut out some of my pieces. It just kind of happened when I started going through my papers and cutting things that I've got this kind of yellow and green theme going, which I actually really like because I got to use some of my favorite pieces that I've collected, and I think they look kind of nice together. So I've kind of pulled this down. It's really great to do some layering when you're doing art journaling. So this piece that I loved, it's like this big flower pattern. I put it behind this, fashion magazine that I had that was very retro. These color palettes that I found, I cut out some greens to sort of go all over the page. I've got my book here with the old-fashioned car and houses, and then I cut out this family to go in front. So just lots of layering going on, and this is a great use for our paper Mod Podge. So just how I have it now, I'm going to start gluing things down, and then we can keep adding. So now that I'm finished Mod Podging down all of my papers, I'm really happy with the placement and with the color palette. I'm going to do some finishing touches by adding some Mod Podge Mega Glitter. So this is one of my favorite glitters to use, especially for art journaling, because it is mess-free. So it is just like your favorite Mod Podge, but it has particles of glitter suspended in it. So it goes on a little bit milky, but then it dries crystal clear, so all you see are those glitter particles, and you don't have that mess of loose glitter everywhere when you're trying to just do some art journaling. So I've got hologram here, and I've also got gold to give it kind of like a vintage look. So I'm going to probably apply both of them. I'm going to start with the hologram. And I'm going to put them on some of these rocks here. And like I said, just like regular Mod Podge, it goes on kind of milky, but then once it dries, it's going to dry super duper clear. And then I think I'll add some of this to these color swatches that I put on too. Okay, so you can see that one already. It's drying super crystal clear with those great sparkles in it. So now I'm going to clean off my brush and use some gold. The gold is going to look really great with all this yellow. Put some on this big flower shape here. Makes it look kind of like a sunburst. Okay, now I've kind of focused more on this page, so I'm going to add some over here too. I think I'm going to add them to these yellow squares, some gold. So that's it for our Mod Podge paper collage page. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and leave a comment if you have any ideas for future art journaling pages. For more inspiration, go to plaidonline.com.